ISIS is making a tremendous amount of money because they have certain oil caps, right? They have certain areas of oil that they took away. They have some in Syria, some in Iraq. I would bomb the out of them. I would just bomb those suckers. And that's right. I'd blow up the pipes. I'd blow up the I'd blow up every single inch. There would be nothing left.
All right, there's more of Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen, as if you haven't had enough. And joining us on the Malzberg panel, Noah Rothman, assistant editor of Commentary Magazine, and Jane Velez-Mitchell, founder of JaneUnchained.com and New York Times best-selling author. All right, let's start with you, Noah. I'll ask a question that I've been asking today, and I've been asking myself since last night. I thought that after the debate, or what I saw of the debate, I saw a Donald Trump who was a little toned down, and I thought that going forward he would continue along those lines, but we're not seeing that.
No, you didn't see that last night. What has been described by a lot of people who are pretty well neutral in the world of political journalism as a meltdown was an extraordinary display. That was one of the most, I guess, television-friendly moments, and it was characterized by an expletive. I mean, you can just suggest, for the fact of just argument, that it's a little incoherent for Donald Trump to one day be suggesting that we need to both invade and annex essentially these territories in order to take the oil fields in the Middle East for ourselves, be that whether or not you think it's a workable policy, and then the next day to suggest that they should just be leveled from the air. You could talk about whether or not that's coherent. But what we're seeing now from Mr. Trump is just something that I don't think lends itself well to political debate or political discussion or analysis, because it's not politics, it's throat clearing.
Well, and Jane, you know, but one has to wonder. There's a Reuters poll out today, which obviously does not include last night, but he was up over 30%. Really, you know, almost doubling Ben Carson, who was, I think, in the teens and 19, maybe, so not quite doubling, but nonetheless, there has not been a turning point here. Whether it was what he said about John McCain or anything else, there has not been a point where something Donald Trump has said or done has turned people off to say, well, that's it, I'm leaving him, and he has fallen, you know, significantly in the polls. Is this going to
catch up with him? He wants to blow everything up. What he's blowing up is the Republican Party. What he's blowing up is his own candidacy, is his ability to be taken in any way, shape, or form as a serious candidate. What you saw was a man having a tantrum, a man who doesn't like to be called out for being wrong on anything. And when it comes to serious policy issues, he is an ignoramus. He didn't even know that the trade deal doesn't include China. And he's rattling on and on about China. And Rand Paul has to correct him and say, sir, China's not included in the trade deal. So he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Noah, I think you might agree with me there. I think that was very unfair. Donald Trump, and I'm surprised he didn't defend himself, or maybe he didn't hear exactly what Paul said. Donald Trump said China will then come in the back door, which to me indicates that he knew full well they weren't involved in this deal. They were going to come in the back door around the deal.
Yeah, it's sort of half unfair. You're right that he didn't say that China was in this arrangement, and it was unfair to suggest that he did. What is fair of a criticism of that is that he didn't seem to understand, however, that it is designed to keep China out. Not only is China not walking in through a back door in this process, the whole process is designed to box China out of the region and to more economically tie these 11 nations that are signatories to this agreement to the United States. If China does become a signatory to this agreement at a later date, it will do so on terms that are, A, favorable to the United States and to free trade, which actually address one of the issues that he says that he's concerned about, which is currency manipulation.
Donald Trump's personality.
Wait, I don't want to get back down. I want to ask this question.
It was all about his personality.
Well, I want to ask this question. Washington Post reporting that the Republican establishment, we'll start with you, Jane, is panicking because they're afraid that it's going to be Trump or Carson, and there's a move afoot or an effort or talk of drafting Mitt Romney.
You know, I never thought I'd be nostalgic for Mr. 47% and binders full of women, but I am, because...
But you're not a Republican. Why would you want Romney?
Well, I think that there has to be a serious, for the sake of the nation, a serious debate about serious issues, not some grown-up child who is dropping dirty words and talking about his opponents like Carly, whatever the hell her name, and insulting people. I mean, this man is a crass vulgarian, and he shouldn't be selling used cars, much less running for president of the United States.
We got Hillary, who claimed she tried to join the Marines. Now she claims she tried to become an astronaut. There's a serious candidate for you who has no lies in her past.
Yeah, she deserves to be better fact-checked, I believe, than she has been, frankly. We've been over these issues before, and that's part of why the Clintons get away with what they get away with, is that they say, well, this came up 20 years ago and it's old news, even though it's never been litigated fully.
Yeah.
As for a draft movement from Mitt Romney, this really demonstrates that the best Republicans are those who are losing or dead.
All right, we're coming back with more. Don't go away, folks.
Trying to insinuate that Marco Rubio, a fellow Spanish surname, I'm not sure the right word is Hispanic for them, because they are Cuban nationals or whatever, or come from Cuba.
All right, I wanted to get that in. Welcome back to the panel. Noah Rothman and Jane Velez-Mitchell rejoins us on the panel, or rejoined the panel, whatever. And Noah, let me start with you real quick here. That was a short bite of Chris Matthews saying that he's not sure that Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are Hispanic, that's not the right name for them. I looked up Hispanic, and Hispanic is of or relating to Spain or Spanish-speaking countries, especially those of Latin America. Hispanic on Wikipedia. I'm going to get to you on Wikipedia. Government is defined Hispanic or Latino persons being who trace their descent to Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba. So. Well, let me start with Jane then. So what does it mean when Chris Matthews doesn't know if Hispanic applies to them? Is that because they're conservative?
He's absolutely wrong, and there's a tremendous misunderstanding of Hispanic and Latino community. First of all, Hispanic is not a race. We are very proud that we are all races. We are 25 countries.
Now, where is your lineage? Go back.
I'm from Puerto Rico, and my mom was from Puerto Rico. My dad was Irish. So also, we marry outside of our ethnicity in greater numbers than any other ethnic group. So what we are is a diverse region.
But why would Chris Matthews say that?
Because there are stereotypes.
Oh, you think he doesn't know better?
I think he stereotypes.
So,
in other words, I think any Latino who gets to a certain point of success is challenged as a Latino, because we're the only ethnicity. If we change our last name, suddenly we're not Hispanic anymore, because it's not a race. It's an ethnicity that is only defined by a common language, and for many people, they don't even have that language.
Enough. Let me suggest another reason. It's the Harry Reid, Marco Rubio's not really Spanish or Hispanic or whatever. It's the conservatives can't be real blacks, they can't be real women, and now Hispanics, conservative Hispanics can't be real Hispanics.
Bingo, you got it. I mean, that's as simple an explanation as it's the Occam's razor explanation. To make anything else up is just being a stretch. I mean, last night you had Donald Trump suggest actually say quite clearly that Marco Rubio is in favor of comprehensive immigration reform because he is a Hispanic. He's so Hispanic that all he wants in the world is comprehensive immigration reform. And you have in the other network, he's just not Hispanic enough because he's not a liberal. There's really something very dangerous about, I think, this nature of trying to shape ethnicities into a particular stereotype that you can understand.
It's racist.
It's racist. Yes.
I agree. It's bigoted because Hispanic isn't a race, so I don't think it's racist. I think it's bigoted and it's prejudice. And honestly, shame on Chris Matthews for saying that. There are many Hispanic conservatives, and I think that if you were Hispanic conservative right now thinking of voting Republican, you might think twice, but nonetheless, there are plenty of Hispanic conservatives. We're not a monolithic group. Just like we're not a race, we're not any one party. And people better wake up to that.
All right. Now, I want you to hear this girl. She's a coordinator for the Million Student March. Hope it's a lot more successful than the Million Man March, which was nowhere near that. Listen to this.
The 1% of people in society that are hoarding the wealth and really sort of causing a catastrophe that students are facing. I mean, we have a relationship right now where 1% of the population owns more wealth than the 99% combined.
If they leave here,
yeah,
then who's going to pay for all this stuff that you want?
If they leave
the country.
Oh, I mean, there's always going to be a 1% in the U.S.
There's always going to be a 1% in the U.S. to pay for my college and my tuition and to get rid of my student loans. You know what, Noah, this is so frightening. Neil Cavuto was very polite with her, walked a very fine line with her, didn't want to insult her, praised her. But this is the mindset, and this is an extension of what's going on at the campuses around the country, this trumped-up racism charge with no proof of any racism. And now it's, free tuition, take our student loans away from us and pay them. Who? The 1%. And Cavuto tried to point out to her, you could take all this 1%'s money. You wouldn't fund Medicare for 3 years.
Yeah, which is absolutely right. And she had absolutely no idea how much money we spend on entitlements or how much money is in the United States or currency, for that matter, circulating. I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise that somebody who wants everything that she enjoys paid for wants to confiscate all the wealth in order to pay for that. I mean, you shouldn't be surprised that somebody who's really for free services is essentially a Bolshevik.
Right.
This is really basically.
Let's talk about free services, though.
Let Jane get in. We're running out of time. Let Jane get in.
Let's talk about free services for industries that shouldn't be subsidized, like the sugar industry and the meat and dairy industry. We've got an obesity crisis and a heart disease crisis and a diabetes crisis in this country.
You can change the subject as much as you want.
No,
She's
I'm
not
not
talking about sugar subsidies. She's talking about forgiveness of debt and free
also
college.
corporations getting
That's a drop in the bucket, guys. I got to end it here. Noah Rothman and Jane Velez-Mitchell. She was particularly unchained today. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. All right, folks, we want to know still who won the debate on Tuesday night. Was it Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Rubio, Cruz? You have to go to newsmaxpolls.com and vote. Newsmaxpolls.com. We want to hear still from you.